last tutorial, I showed you how to make this pretty crystal necklace. So I decided that the necklace was so pretty, it needed a pair of earrings to go with it. So today, that's what we're going to do. Let me zoom in so you can see what the earrings look like nicely, and that's what we're going to make today. It's the same type of technique we've been using with right angle weave. So let's go ahead and look and see what we'll need for this project. Okay, for this project, you will need 2 ear wires. I'm just using a silver tone French wire for my ear wires. You will need 15-0 and 11-0 seed beads. These are both Tohos, and they are nickel plate silver color. Then you will need 4mm bicone crystals and 6mm bicone crystals. Both are Swarovski, and you will need 6 of each. Then you will need 2 large drop crystals. These are also a clear Swarovski crystal. They are top drilled, which means the hole is in the very top of the crystal, horizontal, not vertically drilled down. You can use any size you want, but they need to be top drilled. Mine measure 22 millimeters long and 10 millimeters wide. You will need some thread, and I'm going to use 8-pound Nanofil. You can also use 10-pound Nanofil, or you can use 6 or 8-pound Fireline. You will need 2 beading needles. I am using size 10 beading needles, and you will want to measure 1 arm's length of your thread, and then you will, 1 arm's length is when you stretch 1 arm out, and you will measure from your fingertips to your shoulder. Then you will put 1 needle on each side of that 1 thread. Make sure when you thread your needles, put them together, and the part that you drew through the needle needs to be the same size on both sides. So I just have a couple inches of thread that I've drawn through my needles, and I have pulled them to the same length on either side. Then we will go ahead and get started with this tutorial. Okay, to start this project, go ahead and pick up your thread with your 2 needles on it. Set 1 needle down and draw 1 needle through the large crystal. And then pick up both needles and put them together and center that crystal in the middle of your thread like so. Then set your crystal down and make sure that you have your right thread coming out on the right side, the left thread coming out on the left side. Then you will pick up on your right side, pick up an 11-0, a 4mm bicone crystal, an 11-0, and drop those down to your crystal. Then with your left thread, you can hold it in your right hand, but make sure it's your left needle. Pick up an 11-0, a 4mm bicone crystal, and an 11-0. Drop it down to your crystal. Pick up both needles and just recenter your piece like so. And then holding both needles together, you will pick up a 6mm bicone crystal, and you will slide both of your needles, one of my needles is bent, slide both of your needles through your 6mm bicone and slide it down to the crystals and 11-0s already on your thread. Separate your threads, pull a little tension, tighten everything up, make it nice and neat. Let me show you what we have. This is what we have so far. Now you're going to pick up on 1 needle, on your right needle, we are going to pick up an 11-0 and a 6mm bicone crystal and an 11-0 and drop it down. Then on the other needle, again, I'm going to hold it in my right hand, but it's my left needle. I'm going to pick up an 11-0, a bicone 6mm, and an 11-0, and I'm going to drop it down. Then I'm going to pick up my right needle again, and I'm going to pick up a 4mm bicone crystal. like so. And I'm going to draw it down onto my thread, and then I'm going to pick up my left needle and I'm going to come through it, crisscrossing my threads. So I will come through this side, and then I will just pull both needles until I have this drawn down to my piece. Then straighten it back up because it's going to want to twist and do all kinds of weird stuff. At this point, I'm just going to park my left needle in my bead pad, and I'm going to get closer because we're going to sew through this and tighten it up. So let me get it all arranged, and then let's come in close. Maybe not quite that close. There we go. Now I'm going to pick up my right thread, and I'm coming out of the little crystal on the top here. I'm going to pick up my piece, and I am going to start sewing down all the beads on the right hand side of my unit that I just created. So I'm going to go through the 11-0, the crystal, and the 11-0 here. And then I'm going to go through the middle crystal, the 11-0 on the right side, the 4mm bicone, and the 11-0 here. And it's going to scrunch up and do all kinds of weird stuff. That's okay. We'll straighten it out as we go through the entire piece. Then we're going to go through the large crystal. And then we're going to sew up through all the beads on the left side of the piece. So I'm just going to go up through all the beads, pull everything tight, and then now all I have to do is travel through this 11-0 and this crystal to get back where I started. So I'm going to go through this 11-0 and the very top crystal and pull. Now that'll kind of make everything pull to one side, so we're going to do the other thread too. So now pick up your left thread in your right hand if you want to. My left hand is useless, so I always just use my right. And then I'm coming out of the crystal on this side with my left hand, my left needle. So I am going to sew down through all the beads on the left side of the pendant here, or of the earring. I've gone through all of the beads all the way down to the bottom 11-0. I'm going to pull my thread through. Then I'm just turning the piece and I'm going to go through the large crystal. Not only does this tighten and stiffen everything, it reinforces the piece so that you have several threads coming through the piece to keep it strong. I hope I was in frame there. Now I'm going to go back up all the way through the crystals on the right side and the 11-0s. So I'm coming through this 11-0, the 4mm, the 11-0, the 6mm. Now I'm going to come through the 11-0 and the large, or the 6mm right on the top here. Then I'm going to go into the 11-0 and the 4mm bicone on the very top and pull through. Now I'm going to straighten everything up, and I am going to, at this point, sew one of my threads through and tie it off, because to connect my top part from my ear wire, I don't need to have two threads. So I'm going to take my right thread and I am going to sew down through the 11-0 and the bicone crystal on this side. Tighten everything up and make sure that your beads are in good alignment. And then right here between the beads, I'm going to go on that little thread bridge between the beads. I'm going to go underneath it, and then I'm going to create a loop and put my needle through the loop, and very gently I'm going to draw this knot down between my beads, like so. Now I'm going to sew through the rest of the piece, so I'm going to go down through the 11-0 and the crystal here. Now I've caught my other thread, so what I have to do is untangle that, or I'll have a huge mess. So let me untangle this. I didn't actually catch the other thread, I just caught a crystal. So I'm going to pull that through, and then I'm going to sew down into the 11/0 and the 4mm bicone crystal here. And then I'm going to go into the crystal on the bottom, and here I will catch another knot right on this little thread bridge here. I'm just going to go right where the thread is between the beads. Let's get real close so you can see. Right here, I'm going to put my needle under that thread. I'm going to make a loop, draw my needle through the loop, and then pull a little tiny knot down. Then I'm going to sew back up through the crystals on the left side here. And I'm going to sew up and around this unit one more time, this little top unit. So I'm going to go through this 11/0. And you can do as much sewing and knotting as you want with your thread. I just want to pass through it at least one complete time to make sure that my knots are stable and my piece is stable and it has lots of thread running through it. Now I'm going to go through this 11/0, this 4mm bicone, and this 11/0. And then I'm going to go down through the crystal and 11/0 on this side. I'm going to go down through the middle crystal and just the middle crystal. And right here, I'm going to cut my thread off. So I'm going to get my scissors very close to the crystal and cut it off. Now, let me back off because I hope I stayed in frame through that whole thing. But I sewed through the entire thing and just knotted and cut off. And you don't have to do it exactly like I did it, but you need to follow your original thread path, which is how you had sewn through it originally. Don't cross around and have extra thread showing in places that it shouldn't be showing. Now, I have my one thread and I'm coming out of the crystal on the top. I am going to now connect my ear wire. So I'm going to pick up two 15/0 seed beads. So I'm going to back off so you can see what I'm doing. Two 15/0s. And then I'm going to pick up an 11/0. And then I'm going to pick up 6 15/0 seed beads onto my needle. So this is what I have. Two 15/0s, an 11/0, and 6 15/0s. So what we're going to do now is we're going to drop these down to the crystal that we're coming out of. We're going to pick up the piece and hold on to the beads, the seed beads, put your finger behind it. We're going to come through the 11/0 seed bead. We're going to ignore the 6 that we put on, the 6 15/0s, come around into the 11/0 here. Get close so you can see. So I'm coming into the 11/0, and then I'm going to pull the 15/0 seed beads into a loop like so. Now they're going to look kind of strange until we sew back through it and straighten them up. They're going to look kind of funny. They're not going to look like a loop, and that's okay. Then we're going to pick up 2 more 15/0 seed beads onto our needle, and we're going to go into the crystal bicone on the opposite side from which we started, and just through the crystal. Ignore any 15/0s or 11/0s on the other side of it. Just go through the crystal. Pull this down, and now you have a little funny looking thing on top here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to push it into a loop like this, and then I'm going to sew back up around it again. So I'm just going to go into the 15/0s here, up through the 11/0, then I'm going to, I'm going through the 15/0s here, up through the 11/0, into the 15/0s on the other side. So I'm just kind of crisscrossing, like so. And then I'm going to sew through the 2 11/0s on top. If you grab 2, and then if you do 2 at a time, so you come up through these 2, and then come through these 2, and then come through these 2, it'll shape it more into a loop. Now I'm going to go through the 2 on this side. I'm going to grab the 11-0, and I'm going to grab the 15-0s over here and pull down. And now I am going to go through my crystal again. And just the crystal. Well, actually, you can go through the 11-0 on the other side if you want. That's okay. And just pull it and arrange it. And that's what that should look like. Now we're coming out of this 11-0 seed bead here. We're going to grab the thread bridge. Make sure everything is tight and looks like you want it to before you knot it. Grab this little tiny thread bridge, go underneath it with your needle, pull it into a loop, your thread that is, and then go through that loop and draw your knot down between the beads carefully. And then sew into the 6mm bicone, go down into the middle bicone, I'm grabbing that 11-0, so I guess I'll go through the 11-0 and the 4mm over here too. And then I am just going to cut my thread off real close to the crystals, like so. And now I have my earring, and I am going to put on my ear wire. So I'm just going to grab one of my ear wires, back off just a little here, and I will grab my flat nose pliers, and I will open the loop on the bottom of the ear wire from side to side. So I'm just going to see which side is open here. I've got it. And I'm just going to open it like so, just from the side, and then I'm going to put my earring on the ear wire. Doesn't really matter, both sides look the same, so it doesn't matter how you put it on there. And then I'm going to grab my loop from my ear wire, and I'm going to close it exactly the same way I opened it. You always want to open from side to side and close from side to side. Don't try to pull it open and distort the circle. Just open it from side to side. And then close it tightly. Make sure that there is no gap in the ear wire. So make sure that your ear wire is tight, because your thread will slip through it and you'll lose your earring if it's not tight. So that's what that looks like. Let me grab the other one. I'll back off and show you what we just made. There's no neat way to lay ear wire on your beading pad, but that is what the pair of earrings looks like. And I will grab the necklace and we'll take a peek at it and see what the set looks like. And this is what the set looks like. See if I can get a little closer for you to see. And I think it turned out really quite pretty. It's a nice set that I think that I personally would wear. So I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial, and perhaps we'll just go right into making a bracelet on the next one to match this set. Bye-bye.